it constitutes serious violations of international law. I think the international relations people will also look at it from a different perspective, because international relations is about what really happens in international international politics, geopolitics, and so on. But international law is looking at what ought to be. And if you are looking at it from that angle, you can see serious violations of international law from the perspective of, from the angle where Russia has taken this course of action. And when there are violations of international law, certainly there are repercussions. So quickly, I want to go through some of these violations, and then I will come to the situation in Ghana. First of all, Russia is talking about the fact that it has recognized some two republics, and these two republics are being attacked by Ukraine. Recognition of states in international law is up to any state. It's a political act of recognizing a state and developing relationship with the state. But it comes to certain conditions. And these conditions are cemented usually by the recognition of the state by an international organization such as the UN. In this case, the UN has rejected Russia's attempt to recognize these states. And so the next issue is that it could border on aggression. And apart from that, there's also the issue of annexation of the territory, as well as issues about conquest in relation to the laws of war. And so looking at it from these angles, Russia cannot claim that it is saying that it wants to demilitarize Ukraine and is sending peacekeeping forces. All these elements of demilitarization and peacekeeping come in after a war has been fought and concluded, and the parties begin to sit down at the negotiation table. That's where you talk about demilitarization, talk about demobilization, talk about disarmament, reintegration, and so on. So on different fronts, Russia is violating international law. Now, the impact of it in terms of, specifically in the African context, it can be direct and indirect. And most of it could be negative. For example, you're talking about the fact that Ukraine engages in what we call academic diplomacy, where there's a number of African students studying over there. So it is, the universities are promoting the good name of Ukraine, of course, also at the same time getting some money for the universities. But it's also, the Ukrainian government is also helping the universities to sell the name of Ukraine through education. And so it is creating problems for African students studying there. According to the figures, there are about 1,000 or so Ghanaian students alone. There are a number of Nigerian, Ethiopian, Egyptian, and other students studying there. And so that is going to affect the academic calendar. It's going to affect students' ability to complete their programs. And so that is one area we need to look at. Already, you know that most of them actually go and study medicine. You know how the medical school situation is in Ghana. And so it's going to compound that problem. Ukraine...
Something, let me state authoritatively on your show that a lot of information shared now by Mr. Blakwa is false. First of all, you see the indication that he spoke to the students, and then they said that the honorary consul did not respond to them until recently. That statement is false. I said the embassy in Switzerland. You see,
it says the embassy in Switzerland did not respond to them on time.
24th January and 18th. The point I'm making is that Honorable Blakwa did not inform you on the show that he cross-checked these facts from the embassy. He didn't tell you that.
But this is what the students have been talking about.
You cannot hear just one side. And I'm telling you the other side of the story. You cannot hear just one side. You are telling what the students have told you. I'm telling the other side. You are telling me that story you are putting on the show is false.
We have heard the students as late as yesterday on the Super Morning Show.
You see, Sammy, I'm saying, you cannot hear one side of a story. And you are a lawyer and you know that. You must always hear both sides of the stories.
We are hearing you. I'm only putting to you what we have been told.
I'm telling you, the story on the other side, that statement put out there is false. Number two, A lot of the students who are there now are there on their own. They are there on their own. And you see, they were also advised to leave way before the war broke out.
Who did that?
That's the story on the other side.
Who did that?
From the embassy.
The embassy did that?
Number three. Same, hear the other side of the story. Or the alternate pattern. Hear the other side of the story. Your show is
please, we are hearing you, but we are challenging the claims. So please, can we proceed with the discussion without saying hear the other side? You are being heard. That's why you're on TV.
Number three.
So wait before you go to your number three. Gary, hold on. Before you go to your number three. You are simply just throwing the statement out there that the students should not be trusted and that Okudzeto Ablakwa, who they have also been speaking to, should not be trusted. Why should we take your word for it?
You see, what Okudzeto ought to have done, that being somebody in opposition, having been given information from the students, he ought to have reasonably inquired from officialdom what the status quo was. But to rely on only one side to come to your show to to inform the general public that it is a story as it is. Clearly, it's just politics. It's just politics. Now, Sami, do you know that there's about 28 students who are on GOG scholarship as we speak?
No, that's not the question I asked. Why should we take your version as against the students and the MP?
Yeah. Do you have a copy of the response from the embassy to their 24th January petition and their 18th February petition? That will settle the matter.
My version is the version being proffered by officialdom. And what is being put out there by Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa is what he clearly should have informed him. My challenge is that when you're informed about something, you want to cross-check. You want to cross-check from officialdom what the status quo is.
You are assuming he hasn't cross-checked. He says he has.
No. You see, when you're listening to him, he didn't tell all that he cross-checked. He didn't say that. He said that until the war broke out, the students were not attended to by officialdom. And you see, I think it is fair. So it is fair that when you hear a story from one side, we ought to hear from the other side. You have both sides of the coin, and you can now put it out there and say, well, this is the situation as I've cross-checked. Well, tomorrow, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will give an official press conference to address all these matters. So I will leave it here.
Prof, Russian military is advancing into Kiev, streets of Kiev, even in the midst of these sanctions.
No, Samson, you asked the question as to whether this has started. Mm-hmm. I think we are looking at the initial skirmishes and the grandstanding, using language to create a particular type of impression for those who have access to those news outlets. But I want to do what my fellow panelists have done, particularly Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, and go back to history. But let me respond first to the UK's rhetoric about sanctions. I mean, Boris Johnson is a diminished prime minister. He's opened up his country to Russian billionaires of very dubious heritage. Sitting on his top economic advisory group is the wife of the former deputy finance minister of Mr. Putin. So the UK's rhetoric about sanctions, 5 big banks, 3 individuals, hardly scratches the surface of what they ought to be doing and can do. But I'm particularly enamored with Biden's language and his choice of words, of people being the aggressors